Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
I'm Karen Rudolf, and I am an empowerment strategist, and I am calling in from Sarasota, Florida.
Oh, wow. Wow. Beautiful out there. Okay. Can you tell me about your past leading up into your present, however extensive you want to go?
Absolutely. We all start someplace, and we all have our stories, and we make our stories mean whatever we make them mean. And my story started when I was probably around in and around 5 years old. I was in first grade, very studious, and I sat at the very front of the class. And the teacher had given us a box. I'm aging myself here, but she had given us a box of tiles. And on the blackboard, she had written our spelling words. And I went through whatever I could and I raised my hand and I said, I don't have enough tiles. And she started laughing. And I'm looking around and the whole class was laughing. And I didn't realize, like, it was like I wasn't part of that experience. Like, why are they laughing at me? I had no idea. And I made it mean I must be stupid because I wasn't getting the joke, so to speak. And she comes around to my left side, squats down, and she points to the blackboard in the back. So I had to physically turn my little body around, and it said April Fool's Day. I had no relatedness. My parents never did that. And I made it mean in that moment, the story I told myself was I must be stupid. I don't know, and I'll never open my mouth again. And the class was laughing, laughing, laughing. Well, fast forward, I went home and I'm telling my parents, and basically, I'm very curious. I've always been curious and in wonder. And my dad was like, shut up and go outside and play. So now, not only am I stupid, but I'm not worthy of having my questions answered because I lived in that generation where kids were to be seen, not heard. Fast forward into my nursing, the doctor had given me a script to discharge a patient, and I said to the doctor, "Well, this is you're masking the symptoms. Like, why aren't you getting to the root cause?" And he basically, in essence, told me to shut up. That they would find, other people to replace me if I didn't do my job, and as a result of that, I kept saying, well, like, there's got to be a better way. So when I got married and raised my family, I was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mom. And when divorce came unexpectedly, um, I was like, what am I going to do now? Like, and all of a sudden, that's when quantum physics and neuroscience became, I couldn't get enough. It was like information overload. I just studied everything I can get my hands on and went into coaching, went into um, other aspects of it because I remember declaring, and in the beginning was the word, right? I remember declaring that when I was asked who I was going to be, I had no idea what that even meant. But I remember declaring that I was love and I was going to make a difference in the world through communication on a healing aspect. And every single thing that I've done ever since has aligned with that declaration. So,
Tell me about the neuroscience. You spent 15 years studying this neuroscience and something else. Tell me about
quantum physics, yeah,
quantum. Okay, and
yeah,
physics, right?
quantum physics, yeah.
Quantum physics. Okay, so tell me about the first time you started and how did it make you feel? Obviously, it kept you going and made you want to continue to learn about it. But tell me, how did it, make you feel when you were learning about it?
Interestingly enough, I wish I knew how it made me feel because I remember having this conversation. I was in Hawaii. I'll never forget. I was in the Hawaii and going down this like slippery slope with the driver, and the gal who was next to me, who's a friend of mine, she was also studying quantum physics. And I said to her, I don't know why, and there are never any coincidences in life, right? At least not in my world. And I remember saying, God, I just can't get enough of quantum physics. I don't know what it is. And then it dawned on me, quantum physics, neuroscience, right, is all pretty much the study of human nature, human behavior. And not just that, but if you look at the world of through the lens of everything being energy, we're energy. Like attracts like. So if you consider a magnet, right, two magnets coming together, they're either going to repel or they're going to attract, right? So on a human level, my thoughts, right? I came from that thought of being stupid. My thoughts are going to create more of the same, create new habits, create new patterns, which are I'm going to live into until I choose to change them. They're no longer serving me because that was a story that I told myself as a 5 or 6 year old that supported me in that moment. Since that moment, I realized I'm not stupid. I might do stupid things now and then, so how'd that make me feel? That didn't make me feel good at all. So when I was able to realize that I might do stupid things, but I get to choose to laugh at them now and say, oh, there it goes again. No, thank you for sharing. I'm not going to live into it. So between the neuroscience and the quantum physics, it's allowed me to support others in the internal conversation of shifting perception and shifting the patterns and habits that we have taken on since yay young. I mean, if I look at, I like to use the story of little Johnny as an example, if I may. Little Johnny goes into the grocery store with his mom, and he needs a box of cereal, and mom is like, "Come on, make a decision," and she's rushing him along because she's got to go pick up her daughter at school or some such, and he's looking at all, and marketing is done in such a way where all the toys in the cereal boxes are at child level, and he's looking at them all and he can't make a decision. He looks up and mom is gone. She's gone around the corner with the carriage, the grocery carriage, and all of a sudden he makes it mean in his mind. Between the ages of 1 to 6, he's made it mean now that mom has abandoned him. Between the ages of 13 to 18, in and around that area, 11 to 18ish, he's now looking for evidence to make his story real. And that's what we do as human beings. So he gets into, that age where he's now noticing girls, and he wants to give a Valentine to this girl that he's really keen on, and he gives her the Valentine and she's like, oh, boys, kind of thing. So now he's been rejected, and now it amplifies the fact that he's been abandoned. So he goes on into high school, college, between the ages of 18, 21, 22. And now all of a sudden he meets this woman he's just like, his heart is pounding for. And they get in a relationship, and then she decides it doesn't work. Now, all women, not just one woman, but all women are going to abandon, and he lives life with the expectation from that story that all women are not only going to abandon him, which impacts every other woman he meets moving forward, right? And that's how we live into a future and create a future that we don't even realize we've created until we stop, change, and shift, which I call the butterfly technique. And that's something I developed and I use with my clients now and start changing.
Tell me about the butterfly technique, what you can tell me about it.
Yeah, I can tell you because this has probably been, and it's so simple. This has probably been one of the biggest things that I teach clients, and I teach on my in my mastermind classes and such. And it's very simple. If you think of the cycle of a butterfly, transformative cycle of a butterfly, right? It goes into the caterpillar stage, and the caterpillar is munching, munching, munching along the leaves, and all of a sudden it stops. Something is occurring. It doesn't know what's happening. Stop, right? So now it's stopping, and It's eaten enough to support it going through this chemical change within the cocoon where it shifts into a whole new identity, right? It's the formulation of the actual butterfly itself. So you have stop and you have change, right? So stop and change. And then all of a sudden, it morphs into this beautiful butterfly that's within the cocoon. And if we as humans go up, so think about this in life, if you go up and you start peeling open somebody's wounds, so to speak, or the cocoon of the butterfly, that cocoon is going to die because it's not yet formulated. It's not yet learned to open up and flap its wings and that it can fly. It will die until it goes through all those steps by itself. So stop, change, and shift. So when we remember to take that deep breath in, stop the action, right? You're getting anxious, whatever it is, you stop the action, you pause, right? The pause will oxygenate your brain long enough for you to take that deep breath in. That will create some clarity for you. Change the energy. Everything is energy, as I spoke about before, right? You change the state that you're in. How do you do that? You ground yourself. You run in place. You move, dance, something. It changes your physical state. Right? Gratitude will change your physical state. Pause long, stop, change, and then shift into a new way of being, a new energy will get you out of it like that. Butterfly
Okay.
technique.
So I want to know the the neuroscience behind, like, for instance, the butterfly technique. You said you have to peel open the wounds and everything. But what I
Yes.
want to know is how, like, how do neuroscience go hand in hand with human behavior?
So, neuroscience and human behavior, it's shifting your brain is a computer. So neuroscience, think of your brain as a computer, right? And what happens when your computer gets stuck and stopped, right? We turn it off and we reboot it, and, or we reprogram it. So that's what stop, change, and shift, the butterfly technique will do. It reboots in the moment instantaneously for you to put in another framework, to put in another that change, stop, change, the shift rather. And when you're shifting it, you're reprogramming. So that's where it goes on because what happens is a lot of times we're conditioned from birth. We're products of our environment. My mother had a very low self-esteem, right? So I'm a product of that. I didn't know what a healthy self-esteem looked like. So I grew up with not enough. I wasn't enough. There was lack all around me. I didn't know how to shift that until I started pausing and recognizing, and really, it takes like going to the gym and taking practice to shift those old ways of being that I have conditioned myself in. So, neuroscience is more of the study of what's possible moving forward. It gives you the whys and the hows and how the brain works and so on and so forth. Whereas quantum physics is more in the energy field of possibility. So, when you take all of these different things, you take something as simple, a lot of people know about, there's all sorts of the disc method and bank method, and there's so many of them, but a lot of people know about the five love languages. We're all of those, right? We're all of those. For those that are not familiar with the five love languages, it's quality time, touch, being of service, giving of gifts, and affirmation. You might be stronger in affirmation, and that's your love language. You might be stronger in giving of gifts. Not everybody thinks like you. Even though we have all five, we prioritize all of these human tendencies in such a way. When you know yourself, you're then able to know others. When I go back and I look at what Shakespeare said in 1533 in the play Hamlet, to thine own self be true, the more you step into your own authentic self and your own truth, the more you're able to not just know yourself, but to know those around you. So business, it works well with relationship, with finances, with health. Health is your wealth, as same as on a personal level.
Tell me about, well said. Tell me about you being a 10-time international best-selling author.
So it's a collaborative authorship that I've done. It was interesting because I remember doing, meditating and doing my vision board back in the day. And I said, I want to be an international best-selling author. And I had no idea what that looked like or what that even meant. It was just on my board and I forgot about it. And I had already written 5 Ways to Create a Ripple, which is on Amazon. And it was more or less a booklet, like who I am and what I'm doing out there in the world, who Karen is. And all of a sudden, this authorship came up. It was Ignite the Entrepreneur. They came to me and asked me to be a part of their collaborative book. And I said, sure, I can write a chapter, no big deal. And I enjoy writing. And the next thing I know, it was an international bestseller. And then one thing begot another. And it was like right after I did that, somebody else gave me another book to write and another one. And somebody else was like, I really want you to write in my book. Would you do this? And I was like, that title sounds really good and it aligns with what I'm doing. Sure. So all of them led me to become a collaborative, international best-selling collaborative author and Healthopedia book, was the quickest and fastest to international fame, so to speak, is the Physician's Desk Reference, the holistic version of Physician's Desk Reference. So that means that it hit like number one within 8 hours in 13 countries. I don't remember the statistic, but it was really fast. Thank you. And as a result of that, the next book that Healthopedia Publications did and wrote was Essence of a Woman, which I was also in. And those 2 books got me to the NASDAQ billboard in New York City this year.
Tell me about your great divorce. Did the butterfly technique help you through that divorce?
I would love to tell you anything helped me, but I didn't have any of these tools back then. There was no way I would be looking you straight in the eye right now back in those days because I was so victimizing myself. I was living a life of pity party, what I call pity party, like, woe is me, the sky is falling. Who's going to want me with 3 kids afterwards? And oh my God, what am I going to do when life is over? Kind of mentality. And it wasn't until I have 3 young daughters. At the time, I had 3 very young daughters. And I remember my paralegal saying to me, Karen, you got to go before the judge. The judge is going to make it or break it. You're either going to lose your children or you're going to fight for them. And I remember pausing and just like in the moment, it was like something's got to change because I'm their first mentor, I'm their first teacher. And what am I teaching them? To be victimized? My mother taught me that. I don't want to be that for my children. And in the moment I chose to shift, to stop, change, and shift, and I didn't realize I was doing it until later on. So what I did was I threw myself into communication courses. And again, like quantum physics, neuroscience, I couldn't get enough of it. And I ended up going into NLP, neuro linguistic programming, after that as a result of my marriage, because I promised myself I would never, ever be out of communication again. I would never, ever not be able to have a conversation again, which served me later in life. Because when I got to my accident in Costa Rica, my leadership training, thank goodness, and when my leadership training took me to a point of creating teams. managing the team so I could focus on my healing and say, please support me in getting me home. You do this, you do that, you make the calls, and delegating, right, which I had learned. So everything came together for me. And while I was laying there for 3.5 weeks in Costa Rica, I didn't speak Spanish. So while I was laying there, it came to me like I was, you have a quick flash of your life when you almost lose it, you know? And, and at the moment, it was like, when I took on the communication back then, I created the butterfly technique for myself. I didn't call it butterfly, but that's exactly what I did. And I took on a huge spiritual practice because I was looking for things outside of myself back in my divorce days. And I was so busy pointing my finger and blaming everybody else. He did or he didn't do or whatever, whatever. But I realized three fingers are coming back at me. Where can I be responsible? And what am I teaching my kids? So I went, not the buck stops here. And that's when life started shifting for me. But the more I realized what I was doing, I started saying, wow, like I can do this for others and make a difference in others' lives so they don't have to go through this. And the cost and the time and the energy that have put into it has been exuberant. And I now love my life. I love what I'm doing. So why not? You know?
You have two movies coming out, and you supposed to be speaking at the Hamptons. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so as a result of all of that, I took on, let me go back a moment, if I may. I remember part of my pity party back in the day. I had 6 hours of carpooling, taking my kids to different schools. And I was always one of those mothers that believed that, everybody is individualized. So I didn't want to like put them all into pigeonhole them into, oh, you're all taking tennis lessons or you're all doing this. So because I individualized it, I also made my life a little crazier with carpooling. And I was doing 6 hours. So I always, always, always was doing personal growth and development, listening to audios as I was driving. And I remember running out of audio and reaching out to my oldest daughter at one point and saying, what's on your list? Can I borrow one of yours? And she said, sure, here's my login, whatever. And her long list, blah, 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 and one jumped out at me. And I don't know why, but it was Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes. And I went, oh, I'm going to listen to that. And I'm so grateful I did because Shonona Rhimes was divorced, 3 kids, and her sister had challenged her to taking on a year of yes. And I thought, wow, what would my life look like if I did that? And what I did was I took on a year of yes. So, you know, if it doesn't hurt, you say yes, right? So I took on a year of yes, and my life changed. It was like opportunities open, doors open, and as a result of these international best-selling books, I was asked to be in the movie Frequency of Manifestation. It's a documentary, obviously about yeah. The overarching is frequency of miracles. I I'm in frequency of manifestation and frequency of healing, which is my forte. And the movies will be coming out, I believe, the beginning of next year. It's still in production. But just being asked and being there in front of the cameras and really finding my own confidence within myself, like, wow, I had to really pause and say, look how far I've come. Because I don't necessarily acknowledge myself, which I believe everybody should acknowledge their 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 journey. Because I was one of these people that what comes first, the horse or the cart? And I'd be following the carrot, and my cart is getting heavier and heavier, and I forget to stop and pause and go, wow, like, why is my cart so heavy? And it's not that it's a burden, it's like I've done a lot of things as a result of that year of yes. So as a result of the movie, I was asked to go up to the Hamptons at the end of this month, where we're going to be talking and promoting the movie, and I'm going to be around a lot of famous people. And to me, they're just people, and I'm going to be having conversations with, I'm not one of these starstruck people at all, but just being You are who you associate yourself with. Let me put it that way. And associating with that is bringing me up to another level of being. So it's rising the expectations I hold within myself. My daughters and I, we have horses, and I always taught my children, even when they took music lessons, don't compete against everybody else. Compete against yourself. So if you make a, a red ribbon, what can you do to make it better for yourself and training yourself and exercising yourself to go more towards the blue ribbon? Or I always, and this is where I coach from, is knowledge is just knowledge until you apply it. And once you apply it, what can you do with that? And what lesson have you learned from that? I'm a big advocate of journaling, big advocate. And when you journal in the morning, it's like, what are the three things that you're going to accomplish today? And then at the end of the day, what are the three things you accomplished? And what do you learn from it? And how are you going to apply it? So I always ask myself, what can I build with this? And everything is, so what will I build with this experience? Now I'm going to the Hamptons. What can I build with that experience? And it becomes play for me. Like, wow, like I'm expanding and growing, and how much better can it get? And thank you, universe. So you have a better appreciation. So when I was told in Costa Rica that I might not be walking again, I was like, watch me. Watch me. So, because words create reality, manifestation. Excuse me. So I I remember affirming every day in every way my body's healing on a cellular level. Every day in every way my body's healing on a cellular level. Every day in every way my body is healing on a cellular level, and I am so grateful. Thank you.
Tell me
Right?
about your the Awakening Potential show, your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, as a result of all of that, right, it awakens my potential. It always begins and ends with self. So, when we acknowledge who we are and who we're becoming, I kept saying, I wait for downloads. I get downloads. I'm very intuitive. And I got a download for awakening potential. And I'm thinking, okay, what can I do with that? Excuse me. And the Awakening Potential show is all about sharing people's stories and their challenges and their tribulations that got them to where they are today, to inspire people, others who are listening, the listening audience, to raise themselves, and get that they can do it themselves. That it's not necessarily an easy journey. It's not necessarily a hard journey. It's what you make it, but it's the journeying that counts.
Okay. And how can the people reach you? We're out of time.
Excuse me.
It's okay.
So, for your listening audience, I have a gift for you. If you go to my website, I have created a what's called the Tranquil Solutions, my company, uh, Tranquil Solutions Mind Mosaic, which is a clarity tool that I created a free gift for the listening audience called the Clarity Compass, which will start giving you deeper questions. Most of the time, we do not ask the deep questions. And that's what the tool is all about. So, this gives you some ideas of how to expand yourself and your life through these expanded questions. And that's on my website, www.tranquilsultions.com. I'm across all social medias. Anytime you ask me a question, whether it be on Messenger or it's me you get. You don't get the VA, you don't get anybody else, you get me. So I'm more than happy to be of service and be there for your listening audience.
Thank you so much. Stay on the line. Thank you, everybody, for joining my show today. Y'all take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys another time. Bye bye.
Never waste my time. You are I want.